The Fantastic Four are one of the most important groups in comic book history. Their debut in 1961 is largely considered the beginning of a new age of superhero comics, an age of realism, kicked off by Stan Lee, who decided to create the members of this team as heroes he could personally relate to. I quote, "They'd be flesh and blood, they'd have their faults, they'd be fallible and feisty, and most important of all, inside their colorful costume booties they'd still have feet of clay." The Fantastic Four have been an important staple in Marvel's comics for years because of this, and naturally, like many of Marvel's other popular superheroes and villains, they've gotten their fair share of alternative treatments, with the quartet of heroes seeing many different realities and different scenarios outside of the 616 universe. And today, we are taking a closer look at some of the most powerful versions of those alternates, with our list of the top 10 alternate versions of the Fantastic Four. But before we begin, just want to shout out a brand new channel, our new sister channel, Tier List. It features a bunch of the hosts from our different channels ranking stuff into tiers. There's banter, there's bickering. If that is your jam, be sure to check it out and subscribe. You'll definitely see some familiar faces, like mine. I'm in it. Alright, now on to our list. And at number 10, the zombie Fantastic Four from Earth 2149. Oh, zombie versions of Reed, Sue, Johnny, and Ben, if that wasn't already obvious. They came to be after the Fantastic Four, out trying to help the zombie-infested city on their Earth, returned to the Baxter Building, only to discover that She-Hulk, who had been infected, killed Sue and Reed's children, Franklin and Valeria. Sue blows up She-Hulk's head with a force field in retaliation. Joining up with the rest of the Resistance, Reed begins to investigate the zombie virus, fascinated by it, marveling at the zombies' efficiency, which does not bode well with Sue. And later, Reed loses his mind altogether, tricking the rest of the Fantastic Four by pricking their skin with the zombie virus, ultimately transforming them. They all attack him, biting him, and infect him as well. I mean, when you want to manipulate your whole team to do something and you don't want to be the one who does it first, I guess that makes sense. Still, Reed. Oh, Reed. And at number 9, the FANG 4. The FANG 4 are an alternate Earth group of superheroes who are led by none other than FANG Foom. Gugam, Gorilla, and Electro make up the other members of the team, and they go around on adventures that parody the adventures of the Fantastic Four. Here's the gimmick though. All 4 of these monsters have been shrunk down to human size. They reform and end up working jobs for the Fantastic Four, and of course shenanigans ensue. As you may have guessed, this series was a comedic one. In at number 8, the Marvel BULLPEN Fantastic Four. Here we have a parody version of the Fantastic Four in which the original Marvel BULLPEN became the famous quartet, thanks to cosmic rays that shoot out of a box that was delivered to the Marvel office in the early 60s. The group consists of Stan Lee as Mr. Fantastic, Jack Kirby as a Thing, Saul Brodsky as the Human Torch, and Flo Steinberg as Invisible Girl. They're granted superpowers and go around over the next 2 decades on secret missions, all while publishing comics as their day job. And really, it's their self-reflexivity that makes them so powerful in the long run, if we're being honest. And at number 7, Challengers of the Fantastic. The Challengers of the Fantastic are from the Amalgam Universe, the universe that combines the characters of the DC and Marvel universes. This means that they're a combination of the Fantastic Four and DC's Challengers of the Unknown, who were a group that debuted in 1957, created by Jack Kirby. They explored science fiction and paranormal occurrences. The concept of the Challengers would later be reworked into the Fantastic Four with Stan Lee. Known as the world's greatest death cheaters, there are some obvious differences between them and their 616 counterparts. The Thing has 4 arms, Reed is a scientific genius who uses robotic arms instead of stretching, and Johnny Storm uses a flamethrower. A little lacking there, isn't it, Johnny? Kind of a downgrade. And at number 6, the MANGAVERSE Fantastic Four. The Marvel MANGAVERSE is the Marvel Universe reimagined in the style of Japanese manga. In it, the Fantastic Four are still Reed, Sue, Ben, and Johnny, except their personalities differ quite a bit. Reed is more sarcastic, he's a womanizer, and he does not like combat. Instead, he uses his stretching abilities to increase his brain size and power. Brain power, that is. Sue is very emotionally distant and quiet. Johnny is now Jonathan, a woman, who still acts like a bit of a loose cannon. And finally, Ben is crude and swears like a sailor. When the team gets into fights, Reed stays in the Baxter Building and monitors the group, and the rest of them wear suits that augment their powers to new heights. Moving on to number 5, the Future Foundation. Here we have one of the Fantastic Four alternate teams from Earth 1610, also known as the Ultimates Universe. They're also the team that succeeded the original Fantastic Four in the Ultimates Universe. First appearing in 2014's Ultimate FF, this team was inspired by the defunct Fantastic Four, who had broken up thanks to a series of tragic events. Sue also left Reed. Serves him right. This version was founded by Tony Stark and led by Sue Storm along with Phil Coulson. They're told by Spider-Ham, who had fled from another universe on the brink of destruction, that in order to save their own universe, Sue and Reed Richards needed to have a child. Which, Didn't really go over well with Sue. I feel like I'm hating on Reed a lot just because Sasha hates Reed. just kinda got into me. Moving on to number 4, Four Fantastics. The Four Fantastics from Earth 187319 first appeared in Exiles Volume 1, Issue 95 back in 2007. They're a version of the team in which Victor Von Doom is Mr. Fantastic and leads them, and instead of the Thing, the Hulk is now part of the group. Their Earth is an Earth with no crime, hate, or fear thanks to Victor's rule. Meanwhile, Reed lives underground as a fugitive, and he and Victor's feud is one that the Exiles team finds themselves caught between. But regardless, this team has a Hulk. So they kinda win in the power department, don't they? Moving on to number 3, the New Fantastic Four. The New Fantastic Four are actually an iteration of the group rather than alternates of Reed, Sue, Ben, and Johnny, and they still exist on Earth 616. Initially, they were tricked into starting this new group by a Skrull named Delilah, who was an empath. She shapeshifted into Sue Storm, pretending to be the hero, and convinced Spider-Man, the Hulk, Wolverine, and Ghost Rider to form a new Fantastic Four group to avenge the original Fantastic Four's deaths. They weren't actually dead, she had just captured them. The team has disbanded, but has regrouped on several occasions since. They would later operate as the Secret Defenders when Doctor Strange requested that they work together to bring the Human Torch in for arson. Regardless, they're a pretty solid bunch. With the Hulk's OP'd abilities combined with Wolverine, Spider-Man, and Ghost Rider, the team packs a whole lot of punch, and even managed to take on the Sinister Six too. Moving on to number 2, the Fantastic Five from the MC2. The Fantastic Five are the Earth 92 version of the Fantastic Four. That Earth is also known as the MC2. It's an Earth in which the Age of Heroes happened 15 years earlier than when it happened on 616. Now, the Age of Heroes is marked by the first appearance of the Fantastic Four, kind of like how Iron Man's reveal in the MCU was the public debut to superhero activity in that universe. Anywho, the MC2 Fantastic Five are what the original Fantastic Four became after the team fought with Hyperstorm in the Negative Zone. Reed and Sue had to stay behind in the Negative Zone due to injuries, so Johnny Storm stepped up and led the team, with his wife Lyja, Franklin Richards, who is the son of Mr. Fantastic and Invisible Woman, and a robot called Big Brain that Reed had built. Franklin would operate under the mantle of Psy-Lord, and later, when his powers increased vastly thanks to cosmic ray exposure, he became radioactive, having to wear a special helmet that contained his head. His skull shined through his face. While it seems that Franklin of this Earth doesn't have the same powers as the 616 self, he's still a powerful telepath and telekinetic, making this version of the team quite strong. And last but not least, in at number 1, the Fantastic Thors. It's not just great wordplay. These alternates are from Earth 15143, and took part in the Siege storyline Volume 2 Issue 4, in which they helped defend Battleworld's shield during its final siege. They're part of the Thor Corps, also funny wordplay, and have the same names as they do in the 616: Susan Storm, Johnny Storm, Ben Grimm, and Reed Richards. Not much is known about their history outside of the fact that on their Earth, they joined the Thor Corps in order to enforce God Emperor Doom's laws, and to keep the peace on Battleworld. Their powers are seemingly those of their 616 counterparts combined with the powers of Thor, meaning they wield all of the same abilities as the Asgardian God of Thunder. Not too shabby of an upgrade, that's for sure. Alright, there we have it, friends. What is your favorite iteration of the Fantastic Four? Which group do you think is the strongest from our list? Do you agree with our picks? Let us know in those comments below. And if you dug this video, why not spread the love, hit that like button, and hey, why not subscribe if you haven't already? We'd love it if you guys stuck around some more with us. Oh, and also don't forget to subscribe to Tier List, because it's gonna be a fun time. Anywho, thanks for watching, friends. I will catch you all in the next video.